back to the Daily Grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back pickle biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
Holy flying flipping flapjacks, full-time family, it is official. I'm almost at a loss for words. Daniel Cormier, much respect. We are going to have to elaborate on that in the coming months, how much this actually means to Daniel Cormier's legacy. Now, this UFC 226, first let's get into the news. Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier is set to headline UFC 226 after they coached the Ultimate Fighter Season 27, the Battle of the Undefeateds. I will be watching this season. I said there needs to be some sort of significant heat, like a rivalry between the coaches. This actually will suffice. Champion versus champion. You're telling me we got champion versus champion coaching. They don't even have to have no entertaining Colby Covington trash talk, because it's champion versus motherfucking champion, and they're gonna fight different divisions. They're gonna fight. This is even better than interim champion and champion. This is different weight classes. The two heaviest divisions in the UFC. Keep in mind the light heavyweight and heavyweight. At the end of the Ultimate Fighter Season 27, and every fighter on there is undefeated. So it's gonna, every single week you're gonna see an undefeated fighter potentially lose their zero. Even though, since the fights in the house I believe are amateur, but still it's good. They're all undefeated fighters. You get to watch them all, and then when they come out, we're gonna get to know a bunch of undefeated fighters. So this just sounds amazing to me. I honestly didn't think that, you know, the Ultimate Fighter Season 27 was even, I mean, I'm going to talk about that first, then we'll talk about the fight, then we'll talk about UFC 226, because all of this is just so super fucking dope, and it's almost too good to be true, so fuck it. I was coming downstairs to tune into Bellator. You know, Bellator's on tonight. Y'all told me, hey, it's official, check UFC.com, Stipe Miocic versus DC. I'm like, what? Like fucking Cartman's mom and shit, and it's official. Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier to coach the Ultimate Fighter, and then headline UFC 226. But now, starting on the Ultimate Fighter Season 27, these are two coaches, and the fight payoff is going to be dope. We know it's going to be on a pay-per-view. They're not acting like it's going to be on free TV, you know what I'm saying? This fight's too big for free TV, so you can say what you want about that. You know, some people say, well, if I'm watching the Ultimate Fighter, I want to see the coaches fight for free. This is champion versus champion. Shut the fuck up. Pay for the pay-per-view, or just watch the Ultimate Fighter Season 27. Just the Battle of the Undefeated part is dope in itself. You're going to have a house full of undefeated fighters trying to get into the UFC. All of them are going to be putting their zero on the line, in a way, because even if they lose in the house, when they come out of the house, they'll still be undefeated unless they lose on the Ultimate Fighter finale. So I'm going to be watching every episode. Daniel Cormier is always fun. If you've ever seen a Daniel Cormier embedded, if you've ever seen him on Fox, if you've seen him do commentary work, if you've seen him in the octagon doing post-fight speeches, Daniel Cormier is a very entertaining character, and honestly, he has 100% going to be in the UFC Hall of Fame. But Daniel Cormier has eclipsed the UFC Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is for fighters. Daniel Cormier is bigger than the Hall of Fame, because Daniel Cormier deserves to be in the Hall of Fame just off of his fighting skill. That's not counting what he's going to be doing for Fox or the UFC commentary or post-fight press conferences, which he excels at as well. That's not counting the fucking man that DC is. He's not out here fucking sandblasting hookers and hitting pregnant ladies with cars and you know, doing steroids or any of that to our knowledge. Daniel Cormier is a great father, fucking great athlete, great sportsman. Daniel Cormier could easily be out here right now like, man, I haven't lost to anybody. The only person that ever beat me was on steroids, and I'll beat John Jones again if he wants to get off a steroid. He's not doing that. He's being a cool dude. Look, young man needs to get his shit together. It is what it is. Daniel Cormier, man, I could go on and on about how just fucking great of a person to mixed martial arts is Daniel Cormier, just to the fucking planet. But mixed martial arts really has a gem in Daniel Cormier. Another thing about that, the fact that Daniel Cormier is willing to put his pristine record on the line versus Stipe Miocic, that has to be noted. The only person Daniel Cormier has ever, he's putting his undefeated heavyweight record on the line here, knowing that he's been fighting at light heavyweight. He's thinned up. He's not as big as he used to be when he was fighting at heavyweight, when he went 13-0, beating the likes of Andrei Arlovsky and Frank Mir. 13-0 at heavyweight Daniel Cormier was. But But Daniel Cormier was undefeated at heavyweight. Then he moved down to light heavyweight, and the only person he ever lost to was Jon Jones, who was arguably on steroids the first fight and second fight. Now, the second fight he actually popped dirty for. The first fight was before USADA, but you've got to kind of think, if he would pop dirty after USADA's involved, why would he not before USADA was around? You know, I'm sure a lot of fighters were doing something before. You get the fucking point. But either way, Daniel Cormier is what this is about, not Jon Jones. Honestly, and speaking of Jon Jones was wanting to go up and fight Brock Lesnar, but he wasn't too interested in the Stipe Miocic fight, right? Daniel Cormier is putting it all on the line. He's putting his undefeated heavyweight record on the line. He's not putting his belt on the line. That's why this is interesting. A lot of people are going to argue, just like in the, and not to mention Chris Cyborg versus Amanda Nunes is probably on this card. Another champion versus champion super fight on the same fucking card. That's literally too good to be true. But, you know, it's a win-win usually for the champion coming up, because no, Daniel Cormier is probably not expected to beat Stipe Miocic. But if he does lose, he doesn't lose his title. What he does lose, though, is his undefeated. We already talked about that. He loses his undefeated at heavyweight. So he is still risking something. Amanda Nunes, on the other hand, is a complete win-win, because if Amanda Nunes loses, she doesn't lose her title. And if she wins, she essentially becomes the female Conor McGregor as far as becoming the first woman ever to hold 2 UFC titles at the same time. She'll become the champ, win this belt, beat the unbeatable Chris Cyborg. So Amanda Nunes for sure is in a win-win situation. But Daniel Cormier is actually putting some stuff on the line here. And so Daniel Cormier is willing to risk it for the biscuit. So that's super dope to me. Stipe Miocic taking the fight. Of course Stipe Miocic is going to take this fight. There's nobody on the planet fucking Stipe Miocic would turn down a fight with. It's the baddest man on the planet. The UFC's heavyweight champion. I mean, it is what it is. Now, Daniel Cormier is going to come in here with some skills, and he's got the wrestling advantage, even though he doesn't have the size. It's going to be really hard for Daniel Cormier to win this fight, and if he did, that would be insane. But, hey, man, it is what it is. Going into this fight, I know somebody said to give you my preview and prediction of the fight also on this video, man. Going into the fight, I've got Stipe Miocic, the heavyweight champion, winning the fight. Daniel Cormier, as badass and as much of a legend as he is, and as legendary as this was, I didn't even know if Daniel Cormier was going to take this fight, bro. He was like, you know, back in the day, I used to be a lot bigger. Looking at Francis Ngannou and Stipe Miocic, you know, they're a lot bigger. I'm just saying, Daniel, this is going to be a hell of a fight. But to be fair, Stipe Miocic comes in at about 240 pounds. Daniel Cormier cuts down to 205, but it's not like Stipe Miocic is the biggest heavyweight. Francis Ngannou was 263 pounds on the scales. So Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic might be closer in size than I'm thinking off the top of my head, just because they're in different weight divisions. And knowing that he's going to be fighting Stipe Miocic, I'm sure he's probably going to want to bulk up. But one other thing interesting about this is Daniel Cormier, we know, is going to be retiring before March of next year. So this gives us more time essentially with DC on screen before he retires, because we'll get to see him every episode on The Ultimate Fighter, as to where he might have just fought 2 or 3 times and then retired. Now he'll coach TUF and fight, and then he still might fight 2 more times after that. So that's dope. Daniel Cormier is not going to be around much longer, and he's still making fucking dope legendary moves. He just defeated Volkan Ozdemir. If both of these champions defended their title successfully at UFC 220, and now they are going to be meeting after coaching The Ultimate Fighter. Now, The Ultimate Fighter, I will be watching every episode, probably doing recaps on this season. Daniel Cormier, we know, is going to make each episode funny, even if it's not the fucking bitter rivalry. It's going to be a funny rivalry. You can expect jokes out of DC, and I'm sure we're going to have some fun times watching that episode, the Ultimate Fighter Season 27 season. So with that being said, that's the fight. UFC 226 real fast. That's also too good to be true. International Fight Week in Las Vegas. We're talking about 2 champion versus champion super fights on one card. That really sounds too good to be true. I don't even know how the rest of the card's going to fill out. I'm curious to know how those pay-per-view buys are going to go. I actually think any casual fan that hears about these fights, even if they cared about Ronda Rousey or Conor McGregor, anybody, John Jones. I think everybody's going to care about UFC 226 as long as these fights can stay together. Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic for sure going to headline. Chris Cyborg versus Amanda Nunes. Chris Cyborg has already agreed to UFC 226. The UFC has not announced Cyborg versus Nunes on UFC 226, but the only person we would be waiting on for that is Amanda Nunes. And for her to be knowing that there's another champ versus champ super fight and her to have been campaigning for the Cyborg fight, I see no reason for Amanda Nunes to turn this opportunity down at UFC 226. So with that being said, it is what it is. Great news, but it's time for me to tune into Bellator, which is what I originally came down here to do. Thanks for letting me know about this being official. You know what I'm saying? I found out in the comments first, so it is what it is, man. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. I'm out.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking DOWG.